Hi, welcome to the second episode of our vlog on Bahrain VAT. What's interesting actually is that we've now seen some news where actually there is a potential prison time if companies are caught doing VAT evasion. So, you know, there is literally a situation now where you could actually go to prison if you don't use Innovate Tax. All jokes aside, you've got to make sure you don't cheat the VAT system. We did hear of one company, just a small entity. They were actually in the United Arab Emirates, part of a free zone. And due to the way that they had set their tax up, or the way they were registered, and due to the way the free zone, I don't necessarily think it was actually in one of the free zones that was excluded from VAT. They had a situation where in order to pay all the importation taxes, it would cost them too much because they were buying stuff in, selling it out very, very quickly. And so they cheated. They cheated on their documents and falsified those. Now, they may have thought that that was a quick way of getting around the problems, but in reality, if and when they get caught, they're likely to face either hefty fines or potential prison time. So that's something you've got to be very careful of. It's not worth the risk if you are intentionally found trying to cheat the VAT system. Okay, so the title of this series, or this particular episode, is When to Start. Okay, you should have already been started. You should already have some sort of tax configured in your system, or you should have been looking at your suppliers and customers, make sure the data is correct and correctly structured. You should have been reviewing certainly information that companies like ourselves have been putting out there to find out what's been happening in Saudi Arabia and United Arab Emirates. So if you haven't started now, then you should definitely be starting. Now, a lot of companies, particularly in the KSA and UAE, they made the mistake because the IT department, who ultimately are usually responsible for any of the configuration around the ERP systems, were waiting for the business, i.e. the finance guys, to tell them when to start. And so what we have is a situation where the business, who don't really understand how long it will take to set up a tax solution, things like interfaces, invoice formats, etc., were waiting for the final legislation before they actually said to the IT guys, okay, we can start. And that's where a big problem is. And here's why. It doesn't matter what the tax rate is. It doesn't matter what the item classifications are, i.e. what's exempt and zero rated. It doesn't matter what a lot of the tax logic is going to be. If you look globally, VAT, GST is very, very similar globally. So base your setup on Saudi Arabia, for example, and you're probably going to be 95% correct. The point is if you set your solution up to calculate 5% tax, you're setting your system up to calculate a tax rate. When that final rate is announced, and we do assume it's going to be 5%, then you can change it to to 6% if need be. The point is you can calculate tax. Secondly, if you have items, for example, that are classified to exempt or zero rate tax, then test your system. It doesn't matter which items they are. The point is that you can determine tax based on those items. So that's what we're saying is, start now, even if you don't have the final legislation. There's a lot of configuration and setup that you can do. Look at areas such as invoice formatting. Again, look at KSA for an example. Bahrain may or may not have Arabic as a requirement. It's probably unlikely, and English will be fine. But with KSA, all of the customers ultimately have to be set up with Arabic addresses as well. That's a huge undertaking. When it comes to your interfaces, have a look at your interfaces now, because if you have a situation where you are importing data in to a staging table and you're doing some work, maybe creating the correct distributions for those transactions, that may have an impact on how the tax is calculated. And when it does come to interfaces, even if you consolidate that data, make sure you consolidate it and you split it by the tax code. So if you just consolidate all of your data as one at the moment, but you have zero rated items, or rather exempt items and standard, you're now going to have to split those out. Likewise, when you have split those out and you bring that data into your system, you're going to have to, and this is not a nice to have, this is essential, you have to make sure you capture the tax amount and the tax code as a very minimum against any data that you import in. Now, if you're bringing it into, say, AR or AP, those systems should be able to handle the tax. But if you're bringing it into a GL, then you're going to have to find a way of capturing that data. Do not accept any situation where you interface data in, you capture the tax code, and then later on in your reporting, you recalculate tax. That's a big no-no. We've seen that quite a lot. There's a couple of companies on the market, some big players in the region who are doing that, and unfortunately, most of the clients they've done that for are now non-compliant. You'll also see a lot of solutions being recycled. You know, when someone has got a solution to do something, they're applying it to all of their clients. Those solutions aren't necessarily correct, and in fact, again, one particular integration partner, we've seen that their work is very, very poor, and they're actually, we've seen they're putting in the same bad practice in all of their clients. So be careful, check around, make sure, but start now. That's the key thing. When to start is that you should have already started, but start getting things working out. You know, look at KSA, look at UAE, see where their requirements are. Check, you know, contact us as well. We're more than happy to you know, respond to any inquiries that we get about what you should be doing. So hopefully that's given you a little bit of an idea that you're not going to sit back and just wait for the final legislation. Because if you do, you're going to struggle, and also the resources available to you will also start to disappear. You know, we can only take on so many clients. For example, once we've reached our capacity, then we stop. So you know, if you think that you can just get someone in the last 4 weeks, the chances are that someone is not going to know what they're doing. So good luck, and we look forward to speaking with you in the next vlog.